The truth. But that's just me. So, Mark, why don't you tell us, you're a virologist. Explain to us how you came to stem cells.
Right. So it's actually the long version of the story is probably too long. We probably have to break this podcast up. But in my graduate work, I was studying a virus called pseudorabies virus.
At Princeton, right? That was at Princeton.
At Princeton, yep, in Lynn Inquist's laboratory, who's just an amazing scientist and a wonderful person. I was really lucky to be able to spend that time there. So that lab, though, the Inquist lab, what they study is this virus called pseudorabies virus. And this is a virus that basically makes its home in neurons. Okay, so we were interested in understanding how the virus, and I think, God, I don't know why. I think you guys had talked about this in the past as well, but these viruses, they will enter neurons and they get transported back to the cell bodies of these sensory neurons, and then they'll go dormant in you. And, you know, as we sit here and talk right now, all of us have these viruses in our nervous system. You're going to have them in you for the rest of your life. And then at some point later on in your life, they can reactivate. They can be transported back down the axon, back to your skin, and that'll give you a cold sore.
Yeah, if Rob was going to say, if Joseph and I were talking about it, it sounds like we were talking about herpes virus. Anyway, keep.
Yeah, and right. herpes is messed up too because it's got like glucocorticoid receptors. It knows when you're stressed out. It's like, I'll take advantage of you now. You know, it's like, but you might be a good time to get out, right? If you're a virus,
exactly.
And your host is going down, let's bail.
Yeah. But tell us,
get out of here.
Tell us more about rabies. I think you've said that's the most deadliest virus. I've heard you tell me scary stuff about rabies.
Yeah, rabies is another one of the viruses that lives in your nervous system, and rabies is bad because it is one of the most. I think it is the most fatal virus that you can get. If you've got rabies, you're in big trouble. I think at this point there have been a few documented cases of people that were infected. That did not die, but most of the time you're in big trouble.
I feel like though, is rabies like does it exist, or is it just like this thing?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you're gonna get rabies, dog bit you.
There is, if you do get bit, you can get vaccinated after the fact. So it's a different virus in that way. It takes a long time for the virus to get established in your nervous system. But once that happens and you start to show symptoms, you're in bad shape. Yeah. So if you get bit, go to the doctor.
Yeah, there's only been like a few cures or people who have recovered from it, and it's sort of like quack therapy at this point. Like, it's not sure if this one doctor cured somebody through this technique, and it's a deadly disease, rabies, for humans.
Yep.
So then, Mark, you were studying the lab name was pseudorabies.
Yeah, it's actually an unrelated virus called pseudorabies. So named, I guess, because they're both they infect the nervous system. They cause similar neurological symptoms, and I guess back in the day they were confused for each other. But yeah, pseudorabies is a great model for understanding the herpes viruses because it doesn't infect humans, which as somebody on the bench is sort of a concern. So it gives you a little bit of safety, but it's pretty lethal to animals, and it travels swiftly through their nervous system. So if you want to study how the virus spreads through the nervous system, it's a really good model for that. So I did a lot of primary cell culture and dissections and did a lot of neuronal culture when I was a graduate student. And towards the end, I started to get very interested in host cell genetics and the idea of being able to try to combine viral and host cell genetics to try to understand how the virus was doing these tricks, how it was able to move around in the neurons. And it took me a long time to be able to get this animal that I was interested in that was a mouse mutant. And I had to go on a long trip and give a talk to a lab and teach the student how to do the dissection I was doing to be able to get these animals from them and bring them back and try to establish my own colony. And I had to pioneer how to do the genotyping from each pup from the dissection.